Welcome, sleepy soul. I'm your storyteller tonight, here to help you drift into deep, peaceful sleep. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too. I never planned on working overnight shifts at a Dollar Tree, but life has a way of kicking your plans off the table and laughing while they fall. Before I was stacking cleaning supplies at 3 a.m., I worked at a small car detailing shop across town. It was honest work, long hours, low pay, but I liked it. Then the owner's son came back from Florida, took over the books, and started firing anyone who wasn't a relative. So I ended up grabbing whatever job I could. That's how I landed here, Dollar Village on Maple Run Road. Technically, it was part of the Dollar Tree corporate chain, but this location still kept its old signage from years ago, the letters peeling, half the fluorescent tubes burned out. Most people don't realize how busy these places get. Not during the day, that's normal. I'm talking about after hours, when we unload freight, restock the shelves, sweep the aisles, clean out the stockroom. For most folks, it's just a dollar store. For me, it became my nighttime world. A quiet one, predictable. Well, mostly. The night everything went sideways, I was covering an overnight restock shift because the usual guy, Kenton, called out sick with food poisoning. The manager, Riley Carr, called me around 5 p.m. "Look, I know it's last minute," he said, his voice crackly through the speaker, "but you cover the night shift better than anyone. I'll throw in an extra hour of pay. You good?" I needed the money. Rent was breathing down my neck. "Yeah, man, I got you," I said. And that's how I ended up here, alone in a Dollar Tree at 1:30 in the morning, dragging a pallet jack full of paper towel bundles across the floor. But before I jump into what happened, there's something you need to know. Something from a few weeks before that night that I should have taken more seriously. The backstory. The first sign I ignored. 3 weeks earlier, during my break, I was eating a microwaved burrito in the stockroom when our cashier, Jenna, walked back to grab more paper bags. She looked shaken, eyes glossy, breathing fast. "You all right?" I asked, mouthful of tortilla. She shook her head. "Some dude keeps coming in every night around closing," she whispered. "He just walks the aisles, doesn't buy anything, doesn't talk, doesn't even look at me. Gave me a bad feeling." I shrugged at the time. Creepy customers weren't new. "What did he look like?" "Tall, skinny, wearing this oversized black hoodie like he's hiding inside it." She hesitated. "And he smelled weird, like ammonia mixed with old sweat." She told Riley, but Riley brushed it off, saying, "If he ain't stealing, he ain't my problem." 2 days later, she quit. I remember thinking, damn, must have been serious if she just dipped like that. I should have trusted that intuition. Because the smell she described, the hoodie, the silent pacing, it came back, and it came back on my shift. I was scanning the new shipment in the back room with the handheld gun, checking off inventory, listening to the whine of the ancient AC unit rattling like it was begging to be retired. The store was dead silent. I mean, dead silent. No music, no chatter, no customers. The only noise was the occasional creak from the old metal shelving. I pushed the pallet jack toward the cleaning aisle. As I rounded the corner, I felt it, a faint but unmistakable smell. Not strong, but there. That ammonia sweat smell Jenna described. I froze. "Ain't no way," I muttered under my breath. I looked around. No customers, no co-workers, and the doors had been locked since midnight. I tried to brush it off, but then, crash. Something heavy slammed from the stockroom behind me. I jumped so hard the scanner slipped out of my hand and clattered to the floor. "Hey, who's back there?" I shouted. No answer. My pulse thudded in my ears. I grabbed the nearest object, an aluminum Swiffer handle, and held it like a bat. I stepped toward the stockroom. The lights flickered once, then steadied. Another crash. This one louder, closer. I gripped the Swiffer tighter and walked toward the noise. The pile of freight in the back room was massive, taller than me, stacked with cases of snacks, plastic bins, toys, seasonal junk. It was like a cardboard mountain. One of the boxes had fallen. A big one. The contents hadn't spilled, but the impact had clearly been from the inside. I went to lift it back onto the pallet, but something made me stop. There was a pattern to the way the boxes were arranged. Like they weren't stacked by accident. More like someone built something back here. Like a wall. My skin prickled. No. Hell nah. I pulled one box aside. Behind it was another box. Behind that one, more boxes, forming a barricade. I pushed harder. A narrow opening appeared, and behind that opening was a pitch-black hollow space. A hiding spot. A nest. A living space. Inside it were a half-deflated air mattress, a backpack, 3 empty water bottles, snack wrappers, a small battery lantern, and a rolled-up hoodie, and the smell. God. The smell. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my throat. Someone had been living in the stockroom, not for hours, for days. I stepped back. That's when I heard it. Shuff. A sliding sound. Something shifting deep inside the box fort. Then, a silhouette stood up. He was tall. Way too tall to be crouched in there comfortably. He stepped forward into the faint light from the doorway, and I recognized the hoodie from Jenna's description. He stared at me with sunken, sleepless eyes. His voice scraped out like sandpaper. "You're not supposed to be here tonight." My throat closed up. "Bro, you can't be in here. This is a store, you gotta..." He stepped closer. I stepped back. "I said," he whispered, voice cracking, "you're not supposed to be here." Then he lunged, not a full sprint, more like a jump forward, as if his muscles were firing wrong. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a pallet. "Back off, man." He didn't. I turned and bolted down the aisle, breathing so hard my chest burned. I made it halfway across the stockroom before I heard him climbing out of his little nest, boxes clattering around him. I sprinted through the double doors and into the main store. The aisles were long, narrow, and cluttered. I ran past the party supplies, the school section, the kitchen aisle, clutching my phone. I dialed 911 with shaking hands. 911, what's your emergency?" There's a guy in the store. He's been living in the back. He tried to grab me." The dispatcher tried asking for details, but I wasn't slowing down. Behind me I heard sloppy footsteps, fast, uneven, like someone running with one shoe. He called out, "Come back, come back." His voice echoed through the store, bouncing off the tile and metal. I ducked into the candy aisle and crouched behind a shelf. My breathing was too loud. I tried to quiet it, tried to listen. For a moment, nothing. Then, shff, I saw his shadow stretch across the floor at the far end of the aisle. He walked slowly, sniffing the air like an animal tracking scent. "I know you're here," he sang. My gut tightened. I stayed crouched, waiting for the right moment. He walked past the aisle without looking down. The second he cleared the corner, I slipped out and ran toward the front registers. Only one thought repeated in my head. Get to the door. Get to the door. Get to the door. But when I reached the exit, I realized he'd jammed it. A broken metal rod was jammed into the bottom track of the sliding door. I couldn't open it, couldn't escape, couldn't breathe. "You gotta be kidding me," I whispered. Behind me, thump, 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 slow footsteps coming closer. I ran behind the counter, grabbed a metal box cutter, and crouched low. He emerged from aisle 2, hoodie hanging off one shoulder, eyes wide like he hadn't blinked in hours. "Why are you ruining my place?" he asked. My voice cracked. "Because it's not your place. You can't stay here." He tilted his head. "I was safe here." "You can't live inside a Dollar Tree, man." "Why not?" he whispered. For a second, just a second, I saw something human in him, something broken. Then his face twisted and he lunged across the counter. I swung the box cutter at his hand, not to stab, but to make him flinch. It worked. He jerked back, shouting. I scrambled past him, sprinted toward the stockroom, and grabbed the heavy metal broom handle leaning against the wall. When he charged again, arms outstretched, I swung hard. The impact echoed through the store. He crumpled. Breathing hard, I dropped the broom handle and stumbled backward until I hit a shelf. He wasn't unconscious, but he wasn't getting up fast. And right then, the police burst through the side emergency door. 2 officers tackled him while a third pulled me aside, asking what happened, shining a flashlight in my eyes. I told them everything, every detail, every smell, every sound, every moment. They searched his living space. They found a knife, a burner phone, a stack of clothes, and a notebook filled with scribbles. Mostly dates, mostly staff shift schedules, mostly my name. The officer who looked through it turned pale and said, "Yeah, you're lucky you called when you did." They arrested him. I gave my statement. By the time I got home, the sun was coming up. Dollar Tree asked if I wanted trauma counseling. I said yes. Riley asked if I wanted to switch to daytime shifts. I said hell yes. I still work there sometimes. Bills don't wait, but I never step into that stockroom alone anymore. Because every time I walk past the freight pallets, I swear I still smell that sweaty ammonia mixture hanging in the air. And some nights when the store is quiet enough, I hear a box shift by itself. I didn't know dollar stores could be this dangerous. I never thought I'd end up working nights at a Dollar Tree. Out of all the jobs I'd cycled through, warehouse shifts, stock crew, gas station, overnight produce, I figured Dollar Tree would be the easiest gig. Something quiet, something boring, something that wouldn't remind me of the chaos I was trying to leave behind. After my mom passed last spring, my life kind of fell apart. I stopped going out, I stopped talking to people, and the handyman business I'd started with my cousin went to hell because I couldn't keep up with the jobs. Bills piled up, and grief doesn't care if your rent is due. That's how I ended up at the Dollar Tree on Maple Bend Road, the kind of place that looks normal in the daytime but feels like a ghost town after dark. The district manager said they needed someone dependable for closing shifts, someone who wouldn't freak out if things got weird. I should have asked what he meant by weird. My manager, Landon, was a lanky guy with a voice that always sounded like he just woke up from a nap. He told me the store stayed open until 10 p.m., but prepping, facing shelves, emptying trash, and counting tills meant I'd usually leave around 10:45. "You'll be fine," Landon said on my first day, slapping a box cutter onto the counter. "People out here mind their business. Just don't hang around in the parking lot too long. Some nights get sketchy." I laughed. If only I knew. It was a Thursday. I remember that because Thursdays were always slow. Just a few regulars buying cleaning supplies, cheap snacks, or those weird seasonal decorations nobody actually needs. I clocked in at 2 p.m., stocked seasonal items, dealt with one angry lady arguing over expired coupons, and listened to Landon complain about his car making a whale sound. By 9:30 p.m., the store was empty except for me. Landon had gone home early because his girlfriend locked herself out of their apartment, again, leaving me to close alone. I didn't mind. I'd been alone most nights since the funeral anyway. At 9:47, the bell above the door jingled. A man walked in. At first glance, he didn't look threatening. Average height, shaved head, scruffy chin, wearing a faded army green jacket and old boots. But something felt off. The way he moved wasn't normal. Too slow. Too deliberate. Like he was thinking 3 steps ahead of every action. He didn't grab a basket. He didn't look at any shelves. He just stared at me. "Evenin'," I said with my best customer service voice. He didn't respond. He just kept walking down the center aisle, hands in his pockets, eyes darting from me to the front windows, then back to me. When he passed the counter, I saw it. His jaw was trembling like he was grinding his teeth so hard it hurt. I told myself maybe he was high, maybe drunk. That happens sometimes. I wasn't gonna judge. But then, he came back, and he walked right up to the register. "You guys close soon?" he asked, voice rough, low. "In about 10 minutes, I said, scanning the empty store behind him. "Anything I can help you find?" He stared at the door again, then back at me, then at the door. "No," he whispered. "Just waiting." Waiting for what? His eyes kept flicking between me and the parking lot like he was timing something. I cleared my throat. If you need something, just..." He stepped closer. Way too close. "Do you close the store alone?" he asked. My stomach dropped. Every instinct in me screamed lie. "No," I said quickly. "My supervisor's in the back." He leaned slightly to the right as if trying to see down the hallway where the break room and storage were. He muttered. "Didn't hear nobody." "That's because he's counting tills," I shot back, trying to keep my voice firm. The man's lips twitched into a smile, but not a real one. It looked wrong, like his brain wasn't used to the muscles required for smiling. "Right," he said softly, "counting tills." He took a step back, then wandered around again, not looking at products, just checking aisles, corners, blind spots, like he was mapping something out. I held my phone under the counter and typed out a text to Landon. "Dude, there's a weird guy here, can you come back?" Those 3 dots never appeared. At 9:59, I made the announcement. "Store's closing in 1 minute, folks." But there were no folks, just him. He walked to the front slowly, eyes never leaving me. I locked the door behind him with shaking hands, pretending not to watch him walk across the parking lot. He didn't go to a car, he didn't leave. He stood near one of the columns by the sidewalk, half hidden in shadow, like he was waiting for me to come out. My heart pounded. I texted Landon again. "Seriously, dude, PLS come back." No response. I turned off half the lights and began grabbing trash bags. Normally I'd take them to the dumpster out back, but no way in hell was I stepping outside that building with that guy, hanging around. I turned the lock on the front door again, just to be sure. Locked. Good. But the man didn't leave. He paced back and forth, hands still in his pockets. Occasionally he'd stop, look through the window directly at me, then go right back to pacing. Every time he passed under the streetlight, I noticed something new. A long scar on his temple, a purple bruise on his neck, his right sleeve torn at the elbow. It looked like he'd been in a fight. Recently. I was sweeping the aisle near the front when I heard it. A knock. Not normal knocking. 3 slow, heavy knocks on the glass. I froze. He pressed his forehead against the window. "Hey," he said through the glass. "You almost done?" My throat tightened. I didn't answer. He cupped his hands around his eyes to reduce glare and stared directly at me. "You got a ride?" he called out. I shook my head quickly and yelled back, "I'm good, man. I'm waiting for someone to pick me up." He stared at me again. "You sure about that?" My legs felt weak. I backed up slowly, grabbing my phone and dialing 911, my thumb hovering above the call button. He stepped away from the glass, but not far, just out of the direct light, like he wanted me to know he was still there. My plan was simple. Finish closing, call the cops if he didn't leave, and slip out through the back exit once help arrived. But nothing in my life has ever been that easy. I was almost done counting the register when I heard something. The back door rattled. Then again, harder, like someone was trying to push it open. I sprinted down the hallway. "Hello?" I shouted. Silence. Then, footsteps, slow, dragging, right on the other side of the back door. I backed up so fast I nearly fell. The metal doorknob turned a 1/4 inch, then stopped. Someone whispered, "Hey, open up." My heart hammered against my rib cage. That was his voice. How did he get back there? There's no way around the building unless you walk through the dark alley beside the closed laundromat. He must have circled the building while pretending to watch me through the front windows. He was planning this. Every damn step. I whispered, barely audible even to myself, "Oh God, oh no." My hands trembled as I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? There's a guy trying to get into the back of the Dollar Tree on Maple Bend, I whispered, voice cracking. He's been watching me through the windows. He followed me around the store. He's at the back door now, please. Please send someone. Stay inside, the operator said firmly. Officers are on the way. I backed away from the door, breath shaking. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then, a single loud bang on the door. I gasped and sprinted to the front. He was no longer outside the back, but he was no longer in front either. Where the hell did he go? 10 minutes felt like an hour as I waited for the cops. The building was dead silent except for the humming refrigerators in the snack aisle. I turned off all lights except the ones by the counter and crouched behind the register. Then, I heard something. A soft scraping sound outside the front windows. I peeked my head up. He was crouched behind one of the short brick planters near the sidewalk, using it as cover while staring directly at the front door. I ducked again, hands shaking uncontrollably. Minutes crawled by, then flashing lights lit up the parking lot. 2 police cruisers pulled in, slowing near the storefront. I bolted to the door and waved frantically. The officers got out and scanned the area. But the man? Gone. Completely gone. Like he vanished into thin air. One of the officers asked me questions, wrote everything down, checked the alley, walked the back lot. Nothing. They offered to follow me home, but I lived only 3 blocks away. I told them I'd be fine. I wasn't. As I grabbed my backpack and turned off the last row of lights, I caught my reflection in the window. Then, a second reflection moved behind me. I spun around so fast I nearly dropped my bag. But no one was there. Just darkness. I exhaled, trying to calm myself. "You're just tired," I whispered. "Relax. It's over." I stepped outside, locked the door, and took a deep breath of the cold night air. The parking lot was empty. Silent. I walked toward my car, keys in hand. Then, from the alley beside the laundromat, a voice. Soft, wet, whispering. "See you tomorrow." My blood turned to ice. I didn't look. I didn't breathe. I didn't think. I sprinted to my car, slammed the door, and tore out of the parking lot so fast my tires screeched. I never saw him again. But some nights, when I'm locking up my new job or walking to my truck or grabbing groceries after dark, I swear I hear footsteps behind me, slow, dragging, and a voice whispering, "You close alone? I'll never work a closing shift again." I never planned on working overnight shifts at the Dollar Tree off Wyndham Boulevard. Honestly, when I first applied 3 years ago, I imagined myself working regular hours, maybe evenings, maybe afternoons, but never the graveyard shift. That changed when management started hinting that people who took one for the team and handled unpopular shifts got promoted faster. And I needed the money. I needed the promotion even more. Wyndham Boulevard sits on the edge of town. Half quiet suburb, half forgotten strip mall. Our Dollar Tree is open 24 hours, though no one has ever given me a real reason why. Most Dollar Trees close by 10 p.m., but ours is attached to an old pharmacy building that used to run around the clock, and when the pharmacy shut down, the store just stayed open. Something about the city contract and grandfathered hours. Most people didn't know we were open late, which meant that overnight shifts were usually dead. Usually. I took the shift for the same reason the other 2 employees refused it. No cleanup crew, no customers, no management breathing down your neck. Just silence. And I liked silence. Silence meant time to think. Before everything happened, the night felt like any other. Still, humming, half-lit. You could hear the flickering of the fluorescent lights. You could hear the old heater clicking every few minutes, trying to keep up with the December cold. You could even hear the ceiling tiles shift sometimes, like something above them was crawling around, though it was probably just rats. The manager swore we didn't have rats, but I'd seen enough tiny droppings to know better. Still, I came in every night, still convinced the overnight shift would eventually pay off. My name tag said Taryn. Not a common name, not a fancy name, just something my mom picked because she liked the sound of it. I didn't mind it. I minded other things, like the fact that I was 29 and still scraping by. But my name wasn't one of my problems. The night started like always. I clocked in at 11:59 p.m. exactly, because the store computers freak out if you clock in early. My shift ran midnight to 8 a.m., 8 hours of emptiness. I unlocked the plexiglass door behind the register, put my backpack under the counter, plugged my phone into the old cracked outlet and walked the front aisles to make sure no one had tried to steal anything weird. People love to steal the strangest stuff. Batteries, pregnancy tests, cheap razors, hair clips, instant noodles. Dollar Tree wasn't high-end, but you'd be surprised how many people treated it like a free sample station. The buzzer at the front door makes a sharp breep whenever someone walks in. It's loud as hell, and every night it scares me at least once. If it doesn't go off, I know I'm alone. If it does, someone's inside. That night, the buzzer didn't go off for the first 2 hours. I stocked makeup and toothbrushes. I cleaned up the mess teenagers left in the candy aisle. I refilled the $1.25 chips, still cheaper than the gas station across the street. I swept the floors. I wiped the counter. I scanned my phone maybe 100 times out of boredom. By 2 a.m., I was done with everything. Just waiting. That was when my phone buzzed. A voicemail alert. Normally, I don't get calls that late unless it's a spammer or someone who dialed the wrong number. But this voicemail came from an unknown number. I listened. The message started with a faint crackle, like someone rubbing the microphone. Then a voice, low, warped, distorted like it was underwater. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Just a breathy whisper mixed with static. No words I could make out, just a weird pulsing rhythm and something that sounded like giggling or crying. I couldn't tell. The transcription said, "Unavailable." I rolled my eyes. Spam. Scam. One of those robocalls that glitches out. I tossed my phone onto the counter and went back to fixing a display of holiday socks. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Another buzz. Then a whole string of them. I walked back to the register, unlocked the plexiglass door, grabbed my phone and saw 9 unread texts from the same unknown number. The first said, "Call back when you can." The second, "I know you're at work." The third, "I'm coming to see you." The fourth, "What time you off?" My stomach tightened. I typed, "Who is this?" The typing bubble popped up, stayed there for 20 seconds, then disappeared. They didn't write anything back. I told myself it was some wrong number idiot messing around. It happens. But my hands felt a little shaky, and my throat felt tight. I shook it off and went back to stocking shelves. At 2:34 a.m., the door buzzer screamed, "Breep!" Someone had entered. I walked to the front, stood behind the counter, and waited, and waited, and waited. But no one appeared. Sometimes people go straight to the restroom. Sometimes they walk slow. Sometimes homeless folks wander the aisles looking for warmth. But after 3 minutes, I knew something was off. I stepped out from behind the counter and walked the first aisle. Empty. Second aisle. Empty. Third aisle. The beauty section. Shampoo, combs, cheap perfumes. Someone was there. A woman. Standing at the far end of the aisle, near the bottom corner, staring down at her hands. Her hair was dark and stringy, hanging in her face like she hadn't washed it in days. Her hoodie looked damp like she'd been outside for hours. She stood too still, like she froze mid-movement. But I was an employee, and employees are supposed to help. My voice cracked a bit as I approached. "Hey, you need help finding anything tonight?" No answer. She just kept staring down. I took a step closer. "Ma'am, you okay?" Still nothing. Just the faintest movement, her shoulders rising and falling like she was breathing fast. Too fast. I felt my skin crawl. "Okay, if you need me, I'm up front." I backed away and walked back behind the counter. My phone buzzed again, 5 new texts, from the same number. "Why'd you walk away?" "I see you. You got taller since last time." "That shirt looks good on you." "I'm here." My legs went numb. I typed, "Who are you?" Seconds later, from aisle 3, my phone ringtone echoed. Someone calling me, and the ringtone was coming from inside the store. My heart slammed so hard I felt dizzy. I ended the call immediately. It cut off the ringing, but the echo still bounced around the aisles for a second. The woman was the one calling me. That meant she had my number. That meant she knew me. I forced myself to step away from the counter and walk slowly toward the beauty aisle again. My palms were sweating. My throat felt thick. I turned the corner. She was still there, in the exact same spot, unmoving, staring at the floor. I tried to sound brave. "Okay, joke's over, I'm calling the cops." She didn't flinch, didn't look up, didn't speak. I felt sick. I backed away again, practically stumbling toward the register. Instead of calling the police, because I didn't want to be dramatic, I called my friend Lyle. He picked up instantly. "Yo, what's up?" he said, half asleep. "Bro," I whispered. "Someone's in the store messing with me. A woman. She's calling me from my number somehow." "What? Like spoofing? Or someone you know?" "I think she's someone I used to talk to online," I said, rubbing my forehead. "Long story. She made fake accounts before. She gave off weird vibes, real weird." "Describe her." I did. He paused. "That ain't anybody we know." "No shit," I hissed. "I'm freaking out here. She's just standing there like some creep." "Dude, call the cops. I don't want to get in trouble for overreacting." "You're not overreacting. Some psycho woman is literally stalking you in a Dollar Tree at 3 a.m. I peeked over the counter. She wasn't in the aisle anymore. My heart dropped into my shoes. "Bro," I whispered. "Bro, she moved." "What?" She moved. I dropped to the floor behind the counter and pressed my back against the shelves, shaking. "Where is she now?" he asked. I peeked again. She was peeking around the aisle corner. Just her head, half her face, her hair hanging forward, her lips pulled into a wide, torn smile. Blood smeared down her cheeks. My phone nearly slipped from my hand. "What the fuck?" I whispered. "What?" Lyle said urgently. "What is she doing?" She cut her face," I stuttered. "Both sides, like the Joker shit. She's smiling at me. She's bleeding, bro." My friend swore under his breath. "I'm coming down there." "No," I whispered. "Don't. Please don't. Just stay on the line." The woman made a sound. A soft, choking laugh. Then a whisper so quiet I could barely hear it. "Don't hide from me, Taryn." Hearing my name made my skin crawl so violently I nearly threw up. "How does she know my name?" I breathed. Then everything clicked. Her voice, her posture, the way her messages sounded. It was Leora, a woman who once DM'd me nonstop on Instagram about a year ago. She'd made a fake account pretending to be a customer who wanted help picking out beauty products. Then she turned obsessive, started tracking my posts, commenting on any picture with me in it, even threatened to show up at my job once. But I blocked her, reported her, then forgot about her. She must have made new accounts. She must have followed me here. She must have been watching me for longer than I ever realized. I stood up slowly, legs shaking so bad I almost collapsed. She stepped 1 foot into the aisle. Her smile widened, skin stretching. "Found you," she whispered. I backed up behind the counter and grabbed the phone. "Get out!" I yelled, voice cracking. Get out or I swear I'll... She tilted her head. You'll what? I grabbed the longest thing behind the counter, a metal broom handle. Don't come any closer. Her eyes flicked down to my shaking hand, then back up to my face. You won't hurt me. Her voice was weirdly sweet, childlike. You liked talking to me, she said. I know you did. You always saw my messages. You just pretend you didn't. My chest tightened. You need help. You need to leave right now. She stepped closer, and I panicked. I sprinted down the center aisle toward the back storage room. She laughed, this awful, high-pitched giggle, and her footsteps slapped against the floor behind me. I reached the storage door, shoved inside, and slammed it shut. I held the lock. I braced my back against it. Her footsteps stopped right outside. She whispered through the crack. You don't lock me out, sweetheart. I came all this way for you. My whole body trembled. Please leave, I begged. Please, please leave. She scraped her nails down the door, slowly, deliberately. Then the footsteps faded. Silence. I waited 30 seconds, then a minute, then 5. Finally, I heard the front door buzzer. Breep. She had left. I stayed in that storage closet for another 10 minutes, listening. Only when I was sure she was gone did I unlock the door and peek out. Empty aisles, no footsteps, no breathing. I rushed to the counter, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911. Dollar Tree on Wyndham Boulevard, I said, voice cracking. A woman followed me into the store. She's unstable. She cut herself. She knows my name. She won't stop contacting me. Please send someone. The operator kept me on the line until officers arrived. 2 patrol cars pulled up. They walked me through the whole thing, watched the security footage, saw her creeping around the aisles stalking me, saw her hiding behind shelves, staring toward the register. They recognized her name. Apparently, she'd been reported missing from a psychiatric facility 3 months earlier. Her family had been asking around, but she'd vanished off the map. Seeing the footage disturbed the officers. One of them, Officer Bradshaw, said quietly, "You're lucky she left." They patrolled the area the rest of the night, but she never came back. I blocked every unknown number, changed my phone settings, changed my Instagram, called corporate, told my manager everything. But even after all that, sometimes at night when the store gets real quiet, I hear the automatic door buzzer chirp softly. And I swear I see the shape of a woman at the edge of an aisle, half hidden, half smiling. Like she's waiting for me to let my guard down. Like she never left. Like she's still out there, watching, waiting, wanting to finish what she started. I never thought a Dollar Tree would be the place that finally pushed me over the edge, but that's where it happened. Not the customers, not the endless cardboard cuts, not the half-broken carts or the sticky floors. It was the walk-in cooler in the back. That stupid metal box that hummed like a dying generator and always smelled faintly like old juice. I used to work the late shift, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., because that's what worked with my college schedule. I was 19 then, and I needed the money bad. Tuition, rent, groceries, all of it. I didn't have parents covering my butt like some of the other kids in my classes. I was on my own, and when you're on your own, you say yes to whatever shifts keep the lights on. And weirdly, I didn't hate the job at first. The crew was small, the store was dead after 8 p.m., and for the most part, nobody bothered me. At least not in a way I couldn't handle. But everything changed when our new supervisor started, Mr. Kellard. He was one of those guys who acted like Dollar Tree was NASA. Clipboard always in hand, always walking way too fast, like he had a rocket to launch. And he had that passive-aggressive way of talking that made you feel stupid even when you were doing everything right. Hey champ, that end cap's supposed to look like that? It'd be nice if we could use our brains today, yeah? You move slower than my grandma's Buick. Everyone hated him, but he loved staying late, loved catching employees slacking, loved reminding us that he ran this ship, even though technically the store manager Denise outranked him. So whenever Kellard was on duty, everyone tightened up. Everyone except me. Because I had a hiding spot. The cooler. At Dollar Tree, the cooler wasn't like a big grocery store cooler. It was basically a narrow freezing hallway where we threw all the drinks, milk, cold snacks, and whatever random stuff corporate sent us. But the thing was loud. So loud, no one could hear you in there, unless they were right beside you. And nobody liked going in there. It was freezing, it smelled like spilled milk, and half the time the lights flickered. But it was perfect for disappearing for a few minutes when Kellard got too unbearable. I'd put on my hoodie, walk in like I was doing a stock check, sit on a crate behind a wall of soda boxes, and just breathe. Call it survival. That cooler was the reason I kept my sanity, and the place that almost took it. On the night everything happened, I came into work already in a bad mood. I had 2 exams the next morning and I'd barely studied. I'd been nodding off in class all week. My wrists hurt from unloading the truck the previous night, and the store smelled like mop water and cheap plastic more than usual. When I clocked in, I saw the schedule taped crookedly on the corkboard. And there it was. Supervisor, Kellard, C. Great. I dropped my head and sighed. Of course he's closing tonight. My coworker Jess smirked as she scanned a cart full of Halloween crap. Yeah, dude's been on one today, she muttered. I think he's trying to catch someone doing something so he can write them up. Sounds about right, I said. And heads up, he's been going on about the cooler again. Says people been leaving the door open too long. I raised an eyebrow. Whose people? Me? She shrugged. He didn't say names, but you know how he is. I laughed under my breath. Man needs a hobby. Exactly. We worked for an hour or two without major issues. The store got quiet around 8:30, like usual. A couple of moms grabbing last-minute stuff, a group of kids messing around in the candy aisle, and this one older guy who was always buying puzzle books. Nothing weird, just a typical night shift. Around 9:05, Kellard came storming out of the back room holding his clipboard like a shield. All right, folks, he barked. We're behind. Cooler needs to be restocked, and I want that end cap reset before close. Chop chop. Jess muttered, I swear to God, under her breath, and walked off to the cleaning supplies. I grabbed a flat cart and rolled it toward the back. The hallway lights flickered like always. Nothing new. I pushed open the cooler door, the familiar blast of cold hitting my face. The air hummed, rattled, vibrated through my bones. I did a legit run-through, stacked milk, rotated juice, pulled expired yogurts, pushed drinks forward. Then I pushed the door to leave. And as it was closing behind me, I saw something. A face, not pressed against the glass, not fully visible, just a shape, a pale blur, like someone ducking right as I turned. I froze. I waited. The hallway outside the cooler was empty. Jess? I called quietly. Nothing. Kellard? Nothing. I told myself I was just tired. My eyes were already burning from lack of sleep. Probably just a reflection or some stupid optical illusion from the light bouncing off the metal shelves. Still, the hair on my arm stood up. I stepped back into the cooler. The air seemed heavier, more still, like the hum of the compressor dropped a little. I scanned the aisles, soda boxes stacked to my chest, milk crates lined like a maze, plastic wrap dangling from broken pallets, but no movement, no footsteps, no shadow, no one. I exhaled slowly. Okay, I whispered. You're losing it. I walked deeper inside, pretending I needed to check the expiration dates on the yogurt just so I didn't feel like an idiot entering for no reason. Halfway down the aisle, the cooler light flickered. Just once. Then again. Then the entire cooler went pitch black. The humming didn't stop, just the lights. I froze. The only light now was a weak glow from the little window on the door. Ah, hell no, I whispered. My heart hammered. I couldn't hear anything except the freezing air roaring through the vents. I reached for my phone. Dead. Well, not dead, but the screen glitched for a full 3 seconds before finally turning on. 1% battery. How the hell had it dropped from 12%? I'd checked it before clocking in. I shoved the phone back in my hoodie. Okay. Chill, I muttered. Just go to the door. Easy. But I didn't move, because something else moved. A shadow. Tall. Too tall to be Jess or Kellard. Standing near the end of the aisle. A silhouette, blacker than the dark, blocking what little light crept through the glass. My throat clenched. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs felt locked in place. There's somebody in here, I whispered, even though no one could hear me. I blinked, and it vanished. Just gone. The lights flickered back on a second later, buzzing loud. The aisle was empty. I finally snapped out of it. I rushed toward the door, shoved it open, stumbled into the hallway. My breath fogged the warmer air. I turned around and looked inside. Empty. Nothing but shelves and stacked boxes. But I felt it. In my bones. In the pit of my stomach. Someone had been in there with me, and whoever, or whatever it was, didn't want me to see it. I ripped off my apron and tossed it on the cart near the compactor. Screw Kellard. Screw the shift. I clocked out early. I didn't care. As I pushed through the automatic front doors, I heard Kellard shout from across the store, "Hey, we're not done here!" But I didn't even look back. I wasn't spending another second in that building. Jess texted me 10 minutes later. "You good?" Kellard's flipping out, LL. I typed back, "Tell him I'm sick. I'm not coming back tonight. And do not go in that cooler alone." She left me on red. Which meant either she didn't take me seriously, or she was too busy dealing with Kellard's meltdown to reply. For a week, I avoided the cooler completely. I stuck to the front end, did recovery, ran the register, I made excuses, pretended my back hurt, all that. But the night shift crew was small. Eventually, I had to go back there. I couldn't dodge it forever. The night I finally did, the air felt wrong the moment I pushed through the door. Like the cold was thicker, denser, like stepping into a freezer that didn't want you there. I walked slowly, forcing myself to breathe normally. "You're fine," I told myself. "You're sleep-deprived, that's it. You saw a reflection, heard the cooler cycling. It's nothing." But deep down, I knew I was lying. You know that feeling when someone stands behind you? That subtle pressure, like the air changes? That's what I felt. Constantly. I kept working. Then, footsteps. Not loud ones, soft ones. But definitely footsteps. I spun. Nobody. I forced myself to turn back to the milk crates. And something, a whisper almost, slid through the air right next to my ear. "Don't hide." I jerked back, slamming into a crate. "Who's there?" The cooler stayed silent. I ran out again. Didn't clock out this time. I just left. I didn't even tell anyone. I finally learned the truth. One of the older employees, Trent, pulled me aside a few days later. "You've been freaked out," he said. "I can tell. You avoiding the cooler?" I just nodded. "You seen him?" he asked quietly. My stomach dropped. "Seen who?" He scratched his beard and leaned in. "There was a guy, years ago, before you worked here. Night stalker. Real quiet dude. Kept to himself. One night, he had some kind of panic attack or seizure or something inside the cooler. Nobody found him until morning." "Is he?" "Yeah," Trent whispered. "They said he was dead hours by the time the opener showed up. Company covered it up quick. Corporate doesn't like scandals." I swallowed hard. "What was his name?" "No one uses it anymore," Trent said. "But folks called him Longer because he was tall, like really tall." The silhouette, the lights going out, the footsteps behind me. It all clicked. "Sometimes," Trent said quietly. "People say they catch a glimpse of him. Not often. Usually only the ones who go in there to hide." My blood ran cold. because that was exactly what I did. So he's, what, haunting that place? Trent shrugged. All I know is he doesn't like people slacking, and he really doesn't like being ignored. The night I quit, I wasn't even supposed to work, but Jess called me crying, saying she needed someone to cover because her mom was sick, and she'd covered my shifts tons of times. I owed her, so I said yes. Bad decision, really bad. Kellard was already in a mood when I walked in. Oh, look who decided to show up, he sneered. I'm just covering, I muttered. He rolled his eyes. Cooler's a mess. You're on it. Of course I was. I put on my hoodie. My hands were already shaking. I walked back slowly, like I was heading into a lion's cage. I opened the cooler door. Cold, dark, still. The lights flickered again, and then they shut off completely. My breath caught. No, I whispered. Please, not again. I reached for the door. It didn't budge. I yanked harder. Nothing. Locked. From the outside. Kellard, I shouted, pounding on the metal. Open the damn door! Nothing. Then, footsteps behind me. Deliberate. Slow. Too heavy to be human. I froze. Didn't turn around, didn't breathe. A voice, low, broken like ice cracking, whispered behind me. You shouldn't hide. I squeezed my eyes shut. You shouldn't be here. The air dropped another 10 degrees. My teeth started chattering. My breath fogged thick white clouds. I forced myself to turn, and he was standing there. Tall, wrongly tall, like his spine stretched in ways a human spine shouldn't. His head almost touched the cooler ceiling. His face was pale, washed out, like a portrait left in the rain. Eyes, sunken, unfocused, staring directly through me. He didn't walk. He glided. Every instinct in me screamed to run, but there was nowhere to go. Please, I whispered. Just let me leave. His head tilted sharply, too sharply, like his neck had been broken long ago. You left me, he whispered. You all left me. And the lights flickered back on. He vanished. The door clicked and swung open. Nothing but the empty hallway. I didn't even think. I ran. Past Kellard shouting, past Jess calling after me, past the registers, the aisles, the customers. I ran out the building, across the parking lot, and didn't stop until I hit the sidewalk by the bus stop. I quit that night. Never went back. Never stepped foot in that store again. But sometimes, when I'm walking somewhere quiet, or standing next to a refrigerated section in a grocery store, I swear I feel that cold behind me again, like he followed me out, like he still doesn't want me hiding. I'm not really sure how to start this without my chest tightening a little, because even now, months later, I still replay that morning in my head. But I'll start the way things actually happened, and not the dramatized version people always imagine afterwards. I'm 16, non-binary, and honestly look more like I'm 13. People say it's the baby face or my small height. Whatever it is, strangers tend to either treat me like a kid or like someone easy to mess with. Both options suck. Before all of this, before the Dollar Tree incident, I used to think early morning errands with my dad were harmless. We'd always go when the sun was barely up, just the two of us, some coffee for him, and me tagging along to grab whatever small things I wanted. But let me give you the backstory, because without it, the whole thing won't hit the same. Backstory: I've never been the type to speak up. My dad calls it being quiet. My mom calls it being shy. I just call it shutting down. Whenever someone approaches me unexpectedly, my brain feels like it hits a blue screen. No thoughts, no words, nothing but static. I freeze up instead of making decisions. And because of that, adults, especially older men, tend to assume I'm easy to talk over, easy to guilt, easy to corner. So, when all this happened, I wasn't surprised at myself for freezing. I was disappointed, yeah, but surprised? Nah. Dollar Tree had always felt safe. Cheap snacks, school supplies, the same 3 employees who recognized my dad. It was predictable. It was routine. Until it wasn't. I had woken up to my dad rattling his keys and saying, "We're heading out now if you're coming." He always announced it like that, half offer, half command. I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my phone, shoved my hair inside a beanie, and slipped into my Vans without socks. Bad decision, but I was half asleep. We reached the Dollar Tree around 8:30 a.m., the kind of time where the parking lot is half empty, the morning chill lingers on the windows, and everything feels slow and dull. Dad grabbed a card and said the usual, "Go look around. I'll holler if I need you." I nodded and drifted away like I always do, toward the seasonal aisle first, then to the snacks, then to the cheap stationery section that somehow always pulls me in even though I don't need a single notebook. The place had maybe 4 customers total. 2 older ladies picking out greeting cards, a man coughing into his sleeve while grabbing dish soap, and then another guy, tall, standing near the freezer section. Nothing weird, nothing alarming. Not yet. I walked toward the toy aisle, don't judge me, because they sometimes have collectible keychains. And that's when I noticed him. The guy from the freezer section. He was tall, like 6 feet easy, with slicked back black hair that looked wet even though it wasn't raining. He had a thick beard, glasses with round frames, and an AM/PM gas station shirt, the kind employees wear. At first it made sense. Maybe he was picking up snacks before work, but then he looked at me. Not glanced, looked. Held eye contact, looked. And not in a "what aisle is the tape in" kind of way. More like he was sizing me up, studying. I shrugged it off and pretended to be into a rack of glow sticks. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw him turn slightly as if he was following my movement. That was the first prick of discomfort. But I've had paranoia before, so I pushed the thought down and walked to the next aisle. He showed up again. Not walking down the aisle, just appearing, like he'd predicted which way I'd go. I made myself look busy, reading the back of some dollar headphones packaging even though nobody in their right mind would buy them. He stepped closer, 3 feet away. That close in an almost empty store felt way too intimate. "Morning," he said. His voice was low, rough, like he'd been awake too long. I nodded politely without fully turning my head. He didn't move. "You shop here a lot?" he asked. People don't start conversations like that in Dollar Tree. This wasn't Target. This wasn't a bookstore. This was a place people sprint into for dish soap and sprint out of. Sometimes," I said. "That your dad over there?" he asked, chin lifting slightly toward the front of the store. My stomach twisted. "Yeah," I muttered. He smiled, the kind of smile that never touches the eyes. "Cool, cool." I stepped away, slow, trying to look casual, and moved to the next aisle. He followed. Not instantly, but enough that the hair on my neck stood up. I could hear the scuff of his work shoes, could hear him adjusting his glasses. I walked faster. He quickened his pace. By the time I reached the craft aisle, my palms were damp. I stopped. He stopped. Then, without any hesitation, he said, "You're cute." I felt my soul crawl backward. He wasn't joking. He wasn't being friendly. His tone had shifted, from casual to something darker, something hungry. Before I could respond, he added, "You ever do photo shoots? I'll pay you. $250 cash." My mouth dried instantly. I froze. I don't know," I said quietly, instantly hating myself for sounding unsure. He stepped closer, lowering his voice like we were sharing a secret. "Come on, don't be shy. You'd be perfect for it, real easy, real quick. I'll make it worth your time." My heart hammered. I glanced around. No one else in the aisle. No employees. Just me and him. I tried to take a step back but ended up bumping into a stack of storage bins. "You nervous?" he asked. I didn't answer. He laughed under his breath like he found my fear cute. My fight or flight was screaming, but neither option was firing. I was stuck. Rooted. He leaned slightly forward. "You here alone?" he asked. "No," I said quickly, almost too quickly. He didn't believe me. I saw it in his eyes. "So your dad's here, but you're by yourself right now?" Not a question. A statement. A calculation. I swallowed hard, my hands shaking. I didn't know how to get out of it without making it worse. He blocked the aisle without fully blocking it, just positioned himself enough that I'd have to brush past him to leave. Then came the next blow. "You on Instagram? Snapchat? Let me add you real quick." My whole body went cold. I didn't want to give it, but in that moment, refusing felt dangerous. Saying no felt like it might push him into doing something unpredictable. I froze again, and that pause, those 3 silent seconds, was all he needed to press harder. "Come on," he said softly. "Just a handle. Don't be weird about it." My brain short-circuited. My voice cracked. Yeah, I have Instagram." He smirked like he'd won, then pulled out his phone. "Show me." My fingers felt numb as I opened my profile. He typed in the username, followed me instantly. His thumb hovered over his screen. "Cute username," he said. It wasn't cute, it was random, but the way he said it made my stomach churn. "All right," he said, pocketing his phone. "Now, that photo shoot. I'm serious about it. $250, easy shoot, nothing weird. Below the face, you'd be perfect." Below the face. That phrase hit me like a punch. He knew I was young. He knew exactly what he was implying. My voice barely worked. I'll think about it." He nodded slowly, eyes locked on me too long. "Good. Think fast. And message me if you change your mind." I didn't respond. He waited and waited. When I didn't say anything, he leaned in closer and whispered, "You really should do it." I flinched. Finally, after what felt like forever, he stepped back. Not far enough, but away enough that I could move. My legs felt like jelly as I walked past him, keeping my eyes on the floor. I made it to the book section and crouched behind a lower shelf, pretending to look at coloring books while my hands shook uncontrollably. My chest tightened. My breath got shallow. I felt like I would pass out. That's when I spotted my dad at the end of the aisle, basket full of cleaning supplies. I didn't tell him I couldn't. My throat felt locked shut, but I walked beside him and stayed close until checkout. And that's the part that still haunts me. The man was gone. Gone as in completely vanished. No lingering near shelves, no pretending to shop, no standing in line. Just gone. Like he'd slipped out right after getting what he wanted. We left, and as soon as the car door closed, I blocked him. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. And that was it. No dramatic chase, no running, no screaming. Just quiet terror, and a man who knew exactly how to pick a target. If he ever sees this, stay the hell away from me. Stay away from anyone who looks scared, and stay out of Dollar Tree. I don't remember much from when I was 4 years old. Just blurry little snapshots like the smell of sunscreen on my arms or the sound of my mom humming while buckling me into the shopping cart. But there's one memory that has never faded. One I wish I could forget, even now at 33. And every time I step into a Dollar Tree, even as an adult buying something stupid like gift bags or cheap cleaning spray, that same old cold feeling curls up inside me. I don't remember the exact date, but I remember the heat. Not a usual warm day, a thick, boiling Midwest summer afternoon, the kind where the sun feels like it's pressed right up against your back and the inside of your thighs stick to the car seat. I remember kicking my jelly sandals together out of boredom while my mom double-checked her purse for coupons. We didn't have a lot of money back then. My parents were young, overworked, and stretched so thin that every small treat felt like a luxury. Dollar Tree was where we shopped for seasonal stuff, and that day, Mom wanted to pick up a couple of cheap swimsuits for me and my 2-year-old sister, just something to get us through the summer. Her name's Noelle. My dad's name is Reggie. My mom's name is Lacey. And we lived in a neighborhood where people minded their own business, and kids played barefoot until the streetlights blinked on. Back then, the Dollar Tree felt huge to me, like a treasure cave. I looked forward to the summer aisle, the pool noodles, bright plastic buckets, cracked flip-flops, and those thin swimsuits that always smelled too much like plastic. My sister loved the sparkly pink toy crowns they kept near the register. We were normal. We were safe. We were small kids with simple joys. And then, in one afternoon, all of that shattered. "All right, girls," Mom said cheerfully while she lifted Noelle from her car seat. "We're gonna make this quick, in and out. Dad's hungry." Dad snorted. "You always say that, Lace." I tugged on his shirt and looked up. "Can I get a ring pop?" "We'll see," he said. "Gotta be good for it." I remember how the sliding doors whooshed open and cold air slapped my face. Dollar Tree AC was always crazy strong, and I shivered even though it was 100 degrees outside. The store smelled like a mix of lemon cleaner and that weird cardboard scent everything cheap seems to share. Mom grabbed one of those wobbly green carts that squeaked whenever you turned it. My dad wandered off toward the snacks aisle. He always did, because he liked reading the ingredients on off-brand chips like it was some kind of hobby. Mom guided us toward the back corner where they kept the summer stuff. Bright colors everywhere, neon yellow shovels, hot pink goggles, flamingo towels, tiny bathing suits hanging on metal pegs. "Noelle, look," I said, pointing at a swimsuit with little seahorses on it. My sister giggled and clapped, her diaper crinkling under her little shorts. Everything felt normal, completely normal. The aisle was empty, quiet except for the humming ceiling lights and the faint beeps of the registers at the front. I remember Mom saying, "Let's grab a couple to try on. I think the fitting rooms are still by the craft aisle." Dollar Tree doesn't normally have real fitting rooms now, but back then this one did. Really tiny, like broom closet-sized spaces with flimsy curtains instead of doors. Mom always hated them but used them anyway. She found 2 swimsuits for me, one turquoise, one lilac, and a small polka dot one for Noelle. "All right," she said. "Let's go try these on." She held my hand and herded Noelle along with the cart. Dad stayed behind, leaning against the end cap display of pool toys, checking his phone. I didn't know then that he wasn't really looking at his phone. He was watching someone watching us. This is the part where my memory goes from childhood fuzziness to sharp, uncomfortable clarity. Like my mind recognized danger before I could understand it. I remember my dad stiffening. His whole posture changed, chest puffed slightly, like he was ready to step in front of a moving car. He stared down the aisle across from the swimsuits. I followed his gaze without thinking. A man stood there. I don't know his real name. I've never known it. I don't want to. In my memory, he looked tall, but everyone looks tall when you're 4. He wore a baggy tan t-shirt and cargo shorts, dirty white sneakers, a baseball cap pulled low. But what I remember most clearly is his posture. He was hunched forward, shoulders curled in, head tilted in this weird angle like he wasn't looking at the products. He was looking through them, or maybe listening, or maybe trying not to be seen. His elbows bent awkwardly, his hands were hidden, and he was standing way too close to the little girl swimsuits. Dad squinted. Under his breath, he murmured, Nah, I don't like that." "Reggie," my mom said. "You good?" "Yeah," he said softly. "Yeah, just go on ahead. I'll be right here." Mom didn't question it, because my dad rarely used that tone. It was how he sounded when he heard something outside late at night, or when someone walked too close to our car in a parking lot, or when a stranger stared a little too long at us girls. Mom ushered us toward the back fitting rooms. Dad stayed behind, and the man stayed behind too. The fitting rooms in that old Dollar Tree were just 3 little curtain stalls stuck against a wall near the crafts. I remember stepping inside with Mom, the floor gritty with dust, the curtains smelling like old plastic. I changed into the turquoise swimsuit while Mom tried helping Noelle into hers, both of them half laughing, half struggling. Mom said, "Hold still, baby Noelle. Stop wiggling, oh my God. Your sister was never this difficult. Noelle is wiggly like a worm," I announced proudly. Mom laughed. Exactly. A little worm. Normal conversation. Normal moment. Until we heard my dad's voice. Loud. Sharp. Explosive. "Hey, what the hell are you doing, man?" Mom froze. I froze. Noelle went silent, like even she sensed something was wrong. The curtain rustled as Mom yanked it open just a little, peeking out. "Jesus," she whispered. "Reggie." Her voice shook. I stepped closer to the crack. I saw the corner of the swimsuit aisle, and I saw my dad not calm, not joking, not gentle, furious. The angriest I've ever seen him. He was towering over the hunched man. "Are you kidding me?" Dad barked. "In a store? Right here? Are you out of your damn mind?" The man stumbled backward, his hands scrambling to cover himself, because he'd been touching himself. Right there, in the little girl swimsuit section. Mom slapped a hand over my eyes, but not before I caught a glimpse of the man's panic, his hat falling off. His face pale and sweaty, his body jerking like he'd been shocked. "Stay inside," Mom hissed, but I heard everything. Dad's voice echoing. "That's disgusting, dude. Get away from here. Get the hell out of this aisle." The man tripped, falling straight onto his hip with a thud. A rack of goggles rattled. Someone gasped in another aisle. Then a woman's voice shouted, "Manager, someone get the manager." Mom grabbed us and shoved the curtain closed again. Her breathing was uneven. Her hands shook. "Noelle, sweetheart, stay right here," she said softly but urgently. "Ivy, look at me. Ivy. That's me. The name I'm giving myself now, so it's not tied to any creator's story." I looked up, and Mom placed both hands on my cheeks. Her eyes were glossy with fear. "I need you to stay very, very still, okay? Don't move. Don't cry. Don't go outside. Daddy's handling it." I nodded, overwhelmed by the sudden seriousness. Mom peeked out again just a little. I heard her whispering, "Please don't let him get close. Please." Then she shut the curtain tightly. For a moment, all we heard was shuffling. Then Dad's voice, louder now. "You're sick. You know that? You're sick." Footsteps. More yelling. A man saying, "Sir, calm down, sir, please." A manager trying to defuse it. And then, the sound of police sirens outside. When Mom finally stepped out with us, Dad was standing near the front doors, arms crossed, jaw locked, so tight a vein popped near his temple. 2 officers had the man against the wall, handcuffing him. He was crying, not like someone who regretted anything, but like someone who finally got caught. The manager stood beside them, hand pressed to her chest, pale as chalk. Dad spotted us and immediately walked over. "You okay?" he asked Mom. "Are you okay?" she asked. He shook his head. "I nearly knocked that guy's teeth out." "Reggie." "I didn't. I held back. Barely." He looked at me and Noelle. "He was right next to you girls. Right there. Right next to you." Mom squeezed his arm. He trembled. The cashier, a teenage boy wearing a green apron, approached cautiously. Y'all good? You want some water or something?" Mom shook her head. Dad muttered, "We're fine," though he clearly wasn't. The officer approached. "Sir," he said to my dad, "thank you for saying something. A lot of folks don't. You probably stopped something a whole lot worse." Dad didn't respond. He just stared at the floor, breathing hard. They took our statements, or rather, my parents. I don't remember what Mom said, but I remember Dad saying, I saw him hunched over, moving real weird. His arms were jerking. I walked closer because my daughters were just around the corner. Then I realized exactly what was happening. His voice broke slightly. "I'm just glad my girls didn't see, but I had seen enough. And I had heard everything." We left the store without swimsuits. Mom carried Noelle. Dad carried me. He didn't put me down until we reached the car. Even then he lingered, like he didn't want to let go. The drive home was silent for a long time. I remember staring out the window as the sun dipped low. Everything outside stained gold. My dad's hand tightening on the steering wheel over and over. Finally, Mom spoke softly. "Reggie, you saved them." Dad exhaled shakily. "I almost killed that guy, Lace. But you didn't. You did the right thing." I don't feel like I did the right thing. I feel like I should have done more. Mom reached over and grabbed his hand. You did enough. You protected us. I spoke up quietly. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Why was that man doing something bad? Dad paused. Then he said, because some people in this world aren't right in the head, and it's my job to keep you girls safe from them. Mom added, and mine too. Noelle giggled cluelessly, chewing her pacifier. I asked, is he gone now? Dad nodded. Yeah, he's gone. But I still felt like he was watching us. The memory followed me into adulthood. And people always say, you were 4. How much could you really remember? But trauma doesn't care about age. It etches things into your mind like scratches in glass. Anytime I see someone lingering too long by kids' clothes, anytime I hear a sudden angry shout, anytime a man stares too long in a store, I feel that same jolt of fear. When I told the story years later to a friend, she said, that stuff usually happens at parks or malls, not Dollar Tree. But predators don't care where they are. They look for opportunities, and they wait until the moment no one is paying attention. My dad never forgave himself for not punching that man, but he also never stopped being vigilant. He still walks behind us when we enter a store, still positions himself between us and strangers, still watches with those sharp, protective eyes. And now, whenever I see a parent gripping their child's hand a little tighter, I understand exactly why. I'm 33. Noelle is 31. Mom and Dad are older, grayer, but still the same stubbornly protective people they've always been. But I tell this story now because I want people to understand something. Predators don't wear labels. They don't announce themselves. They don't always look like monsters. Most of the time, they look like regular dudes buying cheap snacks on a hot summer day. My dad didn't wait for someone else to react. He didn't push his discomfort away. He trusted his gut, and he acted. And because of him, because of that instinct, because he saw something no one else noticed, because he refused to stay quiet, my sister and I were safe. And I'm so damn grateful for that, even after all these years. I never thought moving to Westridge, Texas, would change the way I looked at late-night walks forever. I've always been a night owl. The kind of person who feels more awake at 1 a.m. than at noon. Back on the East Coast, where I grew up, my neighborhood felt safe enough that walking at night never bothered me. Everyone knew each other. Streetlights worked. Strangers nodded instead of staring. But in the summer of 2018, when I moved to Texas for work, that comforting familiarity disappeared. Westridge was decent enough during the day. Warm, friendly people. Endless chain stores. The usual Friday night traffic, but the late nights? Whole different story. And I learned that the hard way. I had taken the night shift at a small tech warehouse because it paid better. My sleep schedule flipped instantly. I'd get off around 11:30 p.m., too wired to sleep, so I'd walk around town for an hour or two to burn the energy off. It was therapeutic empty streets, cool wind, my headphones playing old rock tracks. My apartment was a tiny studio behind a strip mall. Dollar Tree was the closest store, just a 5-minute walk away, and I'd go there almost every night to grab snacks or batteries or whatever nonsense I forgot earlier. People always joked that Dollar Tree at midnight attracted creatures, not customers. I thought they were exaggerating. They weren't. I had just finished my walk, sweaty and tired, when I spotted the glowing green Dollar Tree sign across the parking lot. I figured I'd run inside, grab a couple of instant noodles and a sports drink, then head home. The second I approached the sliding doors, I heard voices loud, erratic voices. Laughing that didn't sound like normal laughing. Slurred curses. Random yelling. A group of 6 people huddled near the entrance, 3 men, 3 women, all twitchy, pale, moving like they were being electrocuted from the inside out. One woman had her hoodie halfway off her shoulder, eyes rolling around like she was watching ghosts fly by. Another guy was waving a plastic Halloween sword around, pretending to fight imaginary enemies. Yo, check him out, one of them muttered when he spotted me. Fresh meat walking through. My stomach tightened. I pretended I didn't hear anything and walked into the store. Inside, the store felt almost too quiet. The kind of quiet that means everyone else is scared too. A single cashier stood behind the counter, a young woman with tired eyes and a Dollar Tree vest that was 2 sizes too big. Hey, I whispered, stepping closer to her. Just so you know, there's a group outside acting off. Like, really off. She exhaled sharply. Yeah, we know. They've been here for like an hour. Manager called security 10 minutes ago. Are they dangerous? They haven't hurt anyone yet, but they're tweaking hard. Just stay away from them. That didn't make me feel better, but I nodded, grabbed a basket, and went down the aisles. I picked out instant soup packets, 2 energy drinks, and a cheap charger cable, enough to justify the trip. As I approached the back of the store, I remembered Dollar Tree had 2 entrances, the main one by the parking lot and a side door by the dumpster area. Maybe they weren't near the side one. When I turned down the last aisle and glanced toward the side doors, my heart dropped. 3 of them were there. The same 3 I saw earlier, only closer now, blocking the path like they were waiting. Damn it. I turned around, pretending I forgot something, and grabbed a couple more items. But panic was starting to rise in my throat. That's when I saw at the aisle that held emergency items. A cheap backpack, a small LED flashlight, and a metal hiking stick. Not a baseball bat, not a weapon, just one of those foldable, aluminum walking sticks old hikers use. But it was something. I put it in my basket without thinking. When I checked out, the cashier gave me a look, not judgment, more like concern. You heading out through the front? She asked. Yeah. Be careful, and don't make eye contact with them if you can help it. The moment I stepped outside, the air felt thicker, humid, heavy, wrong. The 3 addicts by the side entrance had moved, and now 4 were clustered by the front. One girl with cropped blonde hair stared at me like she was seeing through me. Another girl, skinny as a rail, drifted forward like she wasn't even fully conscious. And a guy with messy black hair stepped forward too, mumbling nonsense. I lifted the hiking stick onto my shoulder, like I was just carrying groceries. But they were closing in. Hey, backpack boy, the blonde girl muttered, voice scratchy. What you got in there? Nothing, I said. Just food. I'm heading home. You always walk around with a damn stick like you're hiking. At midnight, the guy sneered. I tightened my grip on the walking stick. The skinny girl leaned closer to my backpack, her hand lifting. Don't touch me, I said firmly. She didn't stop. Her fingers brushed the strap. I jabbed the hiking stick forward, not a swing, not a hit, just a firm push straight to her shoulder to get her off me. She shrieked and stumbled back. The hell, man, the guy yelled. He lunged at me. I lifted the stick, ready to swing if I had to. He froze, arms raised. Whoa, chill. Back up, I warned. I don't want trouble. He hesitated. Then he backed down, shaking. I didn't wait. I rushed out of the Dollar Tree lot and toward the back alley behind the strip mall. The back path to my apartment was a construction site, dirt piles, unfinished sidewalks, only 2 working streetlights flickering at the far end. My flashlight wasn't very strong, but it helped enough for me to see uneven ground. Halfway through the lot, I heard it. Footsteps. Not heavy ones. Quick, light ones. Following. I whipped the flashlight behind me, nothing. But I knew someone was there. I felt it. Then a figure emerged from the shadows. A woman, the one who'd been staring off into space earlier. Her eyes were wide now. Focused. Angry. You think you can hit my friend and walk away? She spat. My heart hammered. I didn't hit her. I pushed her off me. You all followed me into the store. Liar. She screamed. You think we don't see you walking around every night like you own this place? She started walking faster. I backed toward the nearest working streetlight, gripping the hiking stick with both hands. Stay back, I warned. I'm not kidding. She didn't listen. She sprinted at me, feral, hands curled like claws. I swung. A clean, hard strike across her forehead. She dropped instantly, flat on her back, eyes open but unmoving. The sound echoed in my skull. I froze for a full second, flashlight shaking in my hand, waiting to see if she got up. She didn't. I didn't stay. I ran all the way home. I didn't sleep that entire night. I sat by my door with the hiking stick across my lap, waiting for a knock that never came. 2 nights later, I worked up the nerve to go back to Dollar Tree with the backpack, the flashlight, and the stick. The same cashier was there. When she saw me, her eyes widened. "Oh my God, you're back." "Yeah." "What happened after I left?" "Cops came," she said. "Arrested 5 of them. They were tweaking hard, like out of their minds." "5?" I repeated. "What about the 6th girl, the one who wandered off?" She shook her head. "They didn't find her." Something dropped in my stomach. The cashier lowered her voice. "One of the cops said she ran into the construction zone screaming. They tracked footprints, but they just stopped." "Stopped?" "Yeah. Like she vanished." A cold chill crawled up my spine. To this day, I still don't know what happened to her. Every time I passed that construction site afterward, I felt watched. Like someone was still hiding in the shadows. Still angry. Still waiting. And the worst part? Sometimes at night, when I walk by the Dollar Tree, I swear I hear her voice drifting out from the dark. "You think you can walk away?" I'd just gotten off my shift at the after-school center I work at. My shirt smelled like Play-Doh and dry erase markers. I was starving, and my phone battery was clinging to life at 6%. I stopped by the Dollar Tree in my town, Pinecrest. Small place, nothing special. A gas station on one side, an empty nail salon on the other. The parking lot lights flickered sometimes. But that night, they were working fine. I parked close to the entrance because I'm not stupid. My dad drilled that into my head. Always park where you can be seen. There were a few cars, but not many. A minivan, a rusty Chevy, a small gray sedan I didn't think twice about. It was cold. That kind of November cold where the air stings your nose. I hugged my hoodie tighter as I walked in. Dollar Tree at night feels different. Quieter, echoey. You hear every cartwheel, every crinkle of plastic bags, every soft hi from the cashier. The cashier that night was a girl around my age with a name tag that said Lysandra. She had purple braids and a bored look that screamed, "I want my shift to be over." "Hey, welcome in," she said, barely glancing up. "Hey," I said back. All I came for was some tape and a cheap storage bin. Easy in, easy out. I walked the aisles, enjoying the calm. I'm a night owl, so quiet stores don't scare me. If anything, they feel peaceful. There was just one other customer inside, some older woman looking at greeting cards. No one else. I finished shopping in maybe 10 minutes. No weird vibes, no strange interactions. But when I walked up to the counter, I caught Lysandra glancing toward the windows like she was checking for something. "You good?" I asked. She blinked like she didn't expect me to notice. Yeah, just someone keeps walking past the front. Probably nothing." I turned to look, but I didn't see anyone. Just my car sitting under the bright parking lot light. "Creepy," I said. "Girl, you have no idea," she muttered. "People be weird at night." She bagged my stuff, handed it to me, and said, "Be safe out there." That's when my stomach tightened. Cashiers don't normally say that unless they mean it, but I didn't want to overthink. I told her good night and stepped outside. The cold hit me first, then the silence. Dollar Tree sits at the far end of a strip mall, so the area behind it is pitch black. The front, though, is lit up by tall lamps, the kind that hum softly. Everything looked normal. No people, no movement, just my car. I walked toward it slowly, hands tight around my keys. Dad taught me to keep one sticking out between my fingers, just in case, like that would do anything. I could barely punch a pillow, let alone a grown man, but whatever made him feel better. I reached my car, unlocked it, and sat down. I didn't start it right away. I pulled out my phone instead. Dead. Totally dead. Great. I sighed, leaned back, and that's when I heard it. Thump. Not loud, not aggressive, just enough to make me freeze. I turned my head slowly. Nothing. I waited. Maybe it was the wind, I told myself, or something rolling around in the parking lot. But then, thump, thump. This time, from behind me. My breath went shallow. I checked my mirrors. Nothing. I wasn't panicking yet, but something felt off. Something in the air shifted. That old fear from childhood crept back into my bones. I locked the doors. I leaned forward, reaching into my cup holder to plug in my charger. That's when a shadow moved near my driver's side mirror. I didn't even get a chance to look up fully before. Hey. I jumped so violently my elbow slammed into the steering wheel. A man was suddenly right next to my window. I don't know where he came from. I swear he wasn't in the lot when I walked out. He was maybe mid-40s. Messy beard. Hood pulled up. Dark jacket. His eyes were wide like he'd just been running. What the? I whispered, my heartbeat in my throat. The man smacked the glass with his palm so hard the whole window shook. Roll down the window, he demanded. His voice wasn't slurred like he was drunk. It was sharp, clear, focused. Everything in me screamed no. I shook my head. The man leaned down, his face inches from mine. His breath fogged the glass. Come on, he said. Just want to ask you something. Roll it down. I didn't move. He hit the window again. Roll it down. No, I said, my voice cracking. Please leave. He stared at me like I offended him personally. Then, through clenched teeth, he muttered, What? You too good to talk to people? I didn't say anything. Open the window, he repeated. I shook my head again. His expression shifted from irritation to anger fast. Like a switch flipping. He smacked the window harder this time, making me flinch. Open it, now. I grabbed my steering wheel with both hands, ready to drive off. But my keys were still in my pocket. My brain blanked. He kept hitting the window. Hey, I'm talking to you. I scrambled for my keys with shaking hands. He hit the glass over and over, each time louder, angrier. Then he yelled, Fine, you little. He slammed his hand one last time, then turned and punched the hood of the car next to mine. My heart hammered so hard I thought I might pass out. He walked off toward the darker side of the lot, muttering to himself, disappearing behind the Dollar Tree. I sat frozen. I don't know how long I stayed there, but eventually, my shaking slowed enough for me to breathe again. After 10 minutes, I forced myself to get out of the car and walk quickly back into the Dollar Tree. Lysandra looked up instantly. You okay? You look pale as hell. I told her what happened, every detail. As I spoke, her eyes widened. That dude was out there, she whispered. You saw him before? She nodded slowly. He's been pacing the parking lot for like half an hour. Didn't come inside. Just circling. Did you see where he went? I asked. She swallowed. Behind the store. My stomach dropped. That area doesn't have cameras, she added. Already told my manager we need some. This ain't the first time we had creeps. She radioed mall security immediately. I stayed inside until a guard came. A tall woman named Officer Janae, who walked me to my car and scanned the whole area with a flashlight. The man was nowhere. Probably took off, she said. But you did the right thing not rolling your window down. People get bold out here. She waited until I drove off. I didn't feel okay until I hit the main road. 2 days later, Dad got a call from one of his friends who works at the gas station next to that Dollar Tree. Apparently, that same man had been trying car doors the night before every single one in the lot. Security footage caught him yanking handles, banging on windows, even following a woman back to her car after she got off work. The police were already searching for him. Dad showed me a blurry picture from the footage. It was him. The same hood, the same beard, the same eyes. If I had rolled down my window even an inch, I don't want to think about it. I'm sharing this because a lot of girls think being paranoid makes them dramatic. It doesn't. Your instincts exist for a reason. I learned that when I was 14, and again at that Dollar Tree that night. And honestly, I still can't drive past that store without checking my mirrors first. Every single time. But I walked away. I'm here, and that's all that matters. I never imagined that a cheap, fluorescent-lit Dollar Tree on the edge of a quiet Midwestern town would be the place where my sense of safety completely unraveled. I had always thought I was pretty good at reading People comes from growing up around a father who worked the night shift for decades and drilled into me the habit of always clocking your surroundings before you even breathe. For context, I'm 21, born and raised in the south end of Riverstone, Michigan, a medium-sized city that folks describe as sleepy but sweet. People here leave their car doors unlocked during errands. Kids run around barefoot in cul-de-sacs till sunset. And if a stranger waves at you, you wave back even if you don't recognize them. Before the night I'm about to tell you, the worst thing I'd seen at work was a customer yelling because we ran out of gingerbread-scented candles during the holidays. But life has a funny way of shifting gears when you least expect it. My dad, Riley, raised me to be cautious, almost too cautious sometimes. He worked security for a trucking company for almost 20 years. Every morning at breakfast, he'd talk about weird people he'd caught snooping around the loading docks, folks he escorted away for trying to follow female employees to their cars, and the creepy drifters who camped behind the trailers. So yeah, those stories stick with you. I got my job at Dollar Tree while I was still finishing my associate degree. It was supposed to be a temporary thing, but money is money, and Dollar Tree's graveyard shifts pay a little more. I'd been working there for 9 months when everything happened. We had a small team. Shay, my coworker, 25, sarcastic, always tired but always real. Mr. Harlow, the store manager, mid-40 seconds, dad humor type, harmless. Nell, the sweet older lady who worked mornings stacking greeting cards. And then there was me, just trying to make rent and not lose my mind in a building with flickering lights and a suspiciously loud HVAC unit. I liked the job most nights. It was quiet, predictable, and the Dollar Tree regulars were surprisingly pleasant, until one shift changed everything. It started on a cold, windy evening at the end of February. One of those nights where the wind sounds like it's scraping across the pavement. I clocked in at 4:02 p.m., thinking it was just another slow Tuesday. I even brought leftover mac and cheese for lunch because the shift was supposed to be chill. Dollar Tree during that hour is usually empty except for moms grabbing snacks, construction guys grabbing cheap gloves, and bored teenagers buying candy. I had no idea that someone else was going to walk through those doors, someone who'd been in the store before. But somehow, none of us had ever noticed him long enough to be suspicious. His name, well, I didn't know it then, but by the end of the night, it would be burned into my memory forever. I was unpacking boxes of plastic storage bins when the electric chime above the entrance beeped. Ding dong. I didn't look up at first, but then I heard footsteps. Heavy, slow, dragging a bit on the tile floors. Evanin, a rough voice said. I looked up, and my chest tightened. He was around late 50 seconds, gray beard, thick glasses, wearing a faded maroon jacket zipped up to his throat. Something about him felt wrong. His eyes lingered too long. He wasn't holding a basket. Didn't look around. Didn't even smile. Most customers at least pretend to browse. He didn't. He walked past me slow, like he wanted me to notice him. "Can I help you find anything, sir?" I asked politely. "Nah," he said without looking at me. "Just taking a look." But he wasn't looking at anything. He was looking at me. I shrugged it off. Working retail, you get weird people. You can't freak out every time someone acts a little off. Shay came from the back room, rolling her eyes and mumbling something about hating the overstock. She whispered to me, "What's with Grandpa Creepshow over there?" I elbowed her, trying not to laugh. "Stop. Be nice." "I am nice," she whispered, just selectively. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. 10 minutes later, as I was stocking paper towels, another man entered around the same age, maybe older, wearing a black baseball cap, shoulders hunched, heavy boots clacking on the floor. He glanced around, saw the first man near the toy aisle, and paused. Then this part still makes my skin crawl. They exchanged a look that lasted too long. Not a greeting, not recognition, more like a signal. I leaned toward Shay quietly. "Did you see that?" She nodded. "Yeah, that was weird. They know each other? Doesn't look like friends. They're giving creep uncle energy." "Yeah, but I was raised to be polite. You don't accuse people of anything without proof." So I went on with my shift, stocking the detergent aisle. Except Every time I looked up, one of them was close by. Too close. I was wiping down the end caps when the first man approached me again. He smiled awkwardly. "You're working late, huh?" Yeah. Just finishing the evening shift. "Pretty girl like you shouldn't be out this late," he said. I froze. In Michigan, people call you hun, sweetie, dear. But the way he said it, that wasn't Midwest nice. That was possessive. I forced a small smile. "Sir, is there something you need help finding?" He stepped slightly closer. "You drive that old blue sedan outside?" My blood turned cold. "How do you know what I drive?" He shrugged casually. "Saw you getting out of it. That model. My son's thinking about buying the same one. Wanted to know if you like it." I lied. "It's not mine." He chuckled. "Sure it ain't." Shay came around the corner at the perfect time. "Hey," she said loudly. "Can you help me with the planners? They're all messed up." I practically sprinted to her. "Thanks," I whispered. "He bothering you?" "He's weird." That's all. For the next 20 minutes, both men stayed in the store, never picking up anything, never walking too far from me or Shay. At one point, I walked toward the seasonal aisle and the second man, black hat, stepped out from behind an end cap like he'd been deliberately waiting for me. "Oops," he said stiffly, not smiling. "No problem," I said, stepping around him. His eyes dropped to my name tag. He whispered my name slowly. I didn't like that. Not one bit. Earlier that month, we had been getting weird customer complaints. Someone said an employee touched her arm when offering help. Another said she saw someone in a Dollar Tree vest who didn't seem like staff. Mr. Harlow brushed it off, thought it was random confusion. But now, it was clicking, and the fear in my stomach was starting to rise. Shay went to the bathroom, leaving me alone for maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes too long. I was facing the craft aisle when I felt breath, actual breath behind me. I flinched and turned around fast. It was the first man, beard, glasses. "You know," he said low, "you should always lock your car doors before you step out. Not safe, with all kinds of people around." My heart hammered. "Excuse me," I said. He tapped his fingers ch-ch-ch on the shelf and smiled. "Just looking out for you." I stepped away. "Sir, I need you to give me some space." He didn't move. I felt panic real. Chest-crushing panic bloom inside me. Then Black Hat appeared at the end of the aisle, staring at us. No basket, no items, just watching. Something snapped inside me. I said firmly, "Both of you need to leave the store." The bearded man smirked slightly. "We ain't doing nothing wrong." I raised my voice. "Leave. Now." That's when Shay walked back, saw the 2 men cornering me, and immediately stepped in. "What's going on?" she asked, voice strong. The bearded man said, "We're just talking. No need to make a fuss." But he didn't leave. Neither of them did. The Dollar Tree suddenly felt too quiet, too still. Even the HVAC sounded distant. The fluorescent lights flickered. I walked quickly toward the checkout area, ready to call the manager, when something made me stop cold. The second man was there, already waiting, standing near the only exit. He didn't say a word. He just shifted his weight from one foot to the other, blocking the path. Shay muttered, "Oh, hell no." I whispered, "What do we do?" "Get to the register. Now." We moved quickly. My hands were shaking so hard, I could barely hold the register keys. The bearded man walked toward the exit too, slowly to meet the second guy. Like they were planning something. I leaned close to Shay and whispered, "I think they followed me in." "Yeah, no shit. They're not here to shop. They're creeping. What do we do?" She glanced toward the back office. "Go back there, lock the door. Call Harlow." "What about you?" "I'll stall them." "Are you crazy?" "Look, I'm not letting you go back there alone. Just move." I tried to act calm as I walked past the registers, but the second man saw me. He stepped forward. "Hey," he said, "you cashing out?" "My shift's ending." I lied. He smiled a thin, pale smile. "I'll wait." "No need," I said. Then I booked it. I sped down the aisle, past the snacks, through the break room door, slammed it shut, and clicked the metal lock. My heart was racing. I dialed Mr. Harlow, straight to voicemail. I called again, and again. No answer. Shit. I texted him, emergency. 2 men harassing us, come now. The door creaked slightly. Someone tried the handle. Hey, a voice whispered through the crack. The bearded one. Come on out. Want to ask you something? I backed away from the door so fast I tripped over a mop bucket. Shay later told me this part. The bearded man walked up to her slowly. You her friend? He asked. Yep, she said firmly. You tell her to open that door. No. He stared at her for a long, uncomfortable moment. His lips twitched like he was fighting the urge to smile. Then he said softly, There's 2 of us, you know, Shay replied. And there's a camera right above your head, buddy. Smile. That was a lie, there wasn't a camera over the checkout. But he didn't know that. Black Hat stared at Shay like she was an obstacle, not a person. They left the store slowly, like they expected us to follow. I waited 15 minutes. Longest 15 minutes of my life. When I finally stepped out, Shay was pacing near the counter, pale. They're outside, she whispered. Both of them. What? They're walking around your car. My stomach dropped through the floor. We peeked through the tiny window in the door. They were circling my blue sedan, checking the windows, looking inside, tapping the hood. Then Black Hat walked toward the road. The bearded man stood near the entrance, watching the door, waiting. I said, He's waiting for me. Like actually waiting. Shay swallowed hard. We need to call the cops. No. If they see us call, they're stalking you, she said bluntly. This is not normal. They're hunting vibes, not old man weird vibes. She was right. I dialed 911 with shaking hands. 911, what's your emergency? I whispered. 2 men are following me, and my coworker. They're outside the Dollar Tree, waiting near my car. I think they want to take me. Stay inside. Officers are en route. Those words were the only thing keeping me from breaking. The bearded man suddenly walked out of sight. Black Hat reappeared near the dumpster area like he was trying to loop around. We locked the doors. Then we waited. Every second felt like someone pouring ice water down my spine. I'm scared, I whispered. Shay grabbed my hand. You're not alone. Breathe. I nodded, but my whole body was trembling. When the patrol car finally rolled in silent, headlights sweeping across the empty lot, both men bolted. The bearded one sprinted toward a truck parked far off. Black Hat darted behind the building before the second officer caught sight of him. The officers questioned us, took statements, searched the area. But the men were gone. Just gone. The police reviewed footage from surrounding stores. Turns out those men were seen earlier at a food saver across the street, a laundromat on Oak Avenue, a bus stop near the highway. Each time, standing too close to women, following them, lingering. Predators. The cops told me something that made my stomach flip. They weren't shopping. They were scouting you. Scouting. Like prey. I barely slept that night. For weeks after, I kept checking my rearview mirror, scared I'd see maroon jacket or a black cap behind me. Dollar Tree changed its evening policy. No more solo closing. 2 people minimum until midnight. But sometimes, when I walk to my car after dark, I feel it again, that cold, crawling sensation like someone is studying every step I take, like someone is waiting, watching. And the worst part? They were never caught. Not even once. None of us ever forgot that night. And I learned one lesson the hard way. Sometimes monsters don't hide under your bed. Sometimes they walk right into your store, smile at you, and pretend everything is normal, until you realize it isn't. Not even close.